Welcome to week 70 of the renovation here on Iris Street. It finally warms up this week, which means right at the end of the week, in fact the last day of this week, insulation is able to be installed by Rocky Mountain Retrofoam. Before that, I spend the final few days making some tweaks to wires because, like I said, after insulation goes in, that's it. So I get the final AV wires sorted, and then earlier in the middle of the week, I install the first of my RTA cabinets. I start with the small 9-inchers and put a 33-incher together as well. So let's get cracking. While waiting on the spray foam insulation to go in later this week, I decided it would be a good idea to start assembling some of my RTA cabinets. I thought it would be smartest to start with this 9-inch cabinet since there's a couple of them, they go in different orientations, and they're the smallest. They actually turned out to be the hardest to assemble because it's hard to get my staple gun in the inside of that 9-inch cabinet. My staple gun is almost 9 inches on its own. So I was able to make it happen, and I did have to buy a staple gun. I went with this Porter cable model because I have one of their routers and it's a really good router, so hopefully it's good too. Check out the documentation pocket in the staple gun's tool case. I wish all tools had that so that the manual can stay with the tool, be easily accessible, but also out of the way. So really like that, and I really like Porter cable tools. I have one of their routers, and it's a great router. So here I'm using 1/2-inch 18-gauge staples, and before I start using it on my cabinets, I just wanted to fire a few rounds into this block just to see how it behaves in wood. And then once I was comfortable with the tool, I started assembling this first 9-inch cabinet. RTA cabinets use the Built, B-I-L-T, app. For the manual, you don't get any paper manuals, and it's good and it's bad. I think it works pretty well. These cabinets aren't too complicated to assemble. It's pretty simple frame and panel construction with glue and these brackets and the staples, which is a fairly standard cabinet assembly technique. You can see the back has some screws that have already been pre-drilled. There's some pocket hole screws, and I think the cabinet looks really nice, so I'll do a bigger one later in the week. It's my final week to mess with AV wires, so I'm getting a few things sorted out. The original subwoofer cable was 50 feet and it was way too long, so I'm replacing it with a 25-footer. You can see some of the cables I've got here, some long HDMIs, a few more USB-Cs, and that new subwoofer cable. So these long HDMIs will be for the basement. You can see I'm drilling some holes in my office. I also have an HDMI that will go from my computer nook to the TV in the living room. I really want everything to be connected. My office is going to have 2 built-in desks, and I'll have all my computer equipment in that office, but I want to be able to cast either down to the projector room, the theater room downstairs I should say, or to the living room. So by installing some AV cables and some HDMI cables from my office to these 2 locations, I'll be able to broadcast games or anything else that I want to be running on a computer to the screen in the living room or the theater room downstairs. So I'm just getting this all wired up. Right now I'm adding in one more USB-C between the TV mounted above the fireplace and the stereo equipment. And that's pretty much it for this project. I've got all my HDMI, audio, and data lines ran at this point. Today, Dad came up and we spent the morning double checking all the screws in the ceiling. Before insulation goes in, we just wanted to make sure that all the screws were nice and flush or slightly countersunk into the drywall. This will need to be done before the mud goes up, so we were just doing it to get it done. We also put together the first double door cabinet. This is one of the 33-inch cabinets, and my dad's cousin Kendall came up as well, and many hands make light work. We got this thing glued and clamped and actually put a few of these together. So I'm not going to do all of them right away because I don't want them to get too dirty. But when I have downtime, I'm putting some cabinets together and these are turning out really nice. I'm really happy with these RTA cabinets. They're going to look great. It's the night before the spray foam insulation goes in, so I'm actually air sealing a couple of spots myself with some great stuff and just double checking everything, making sure all corners that need to have blocking, any wires that need to be tucked out of the way are tucked out of the way, and just giving the place one final walkthrough. And here's just some video shots of what the house looks like the final day before insulation goes in. Good morning. It's March 1st, and today's the day that my spray foam goes in. Rocky Mountain Retro Foam should be here any minute. They'll do all the walls and insulation in the attic as well. So, it's finally happening. I'll catch you guys after work to inspect this and see how it goes. Good afternoon, crew. It's the 1st of March, and the spray foam company told me they're just finishing up with the spraying, so I'm on my way to the house to check it out. I don't know if I'll be able to record, but let's see how it looks. Right off the bat, you can see how much the insulation has transformed this space. It's the first glimpse of what the finished house is going to look like. Yeah, there's still studs exposed and the spray foam is yellow, but this is the first day where you no longer see the gray cinder block walls anymore and kind of get a glimpse of what those finished exterior walls might look like, or at least kind of a sampling of it. Here's the machine that they use to blow in the insulation in the attic. That gray machine gets fed the pink fiberglass insulation and it blows it up through that hose. And this orange spray foam you see here is the air sealing. They air sealed the entire house, all the windows, all the can lights, even cracks in the drywall from the attic side. So this place is air sealed. There's 18 inches of spray foam in the attic. The skylight vault is spray foamed, and all the walls are spray foamed up to 3 to 3.5 inches to get me R20 or better. And this house is good to go. It already feels warmer, and so once this inspection passes, I can start hanging sheetrock on the walls.